being great and having great moisture. I'm totally fine with that. I'm guessing I'm glad I'm not having the winds, take the power out. So Ron, hang on as long as you possibly can. Now, I am going through 5 images today from the Photog favorites, and I'll be doing a moment of envy for each one. And so there's going to be an earlier close to today's show, I'm expecting. One with the technical issues of the studio, which I'll talk about. But it's going to be still a Milky Way Wednesday and the first one of the year. And you know what? Forget it. Even though we have had lots of resolutions and plans and changes that were coming, I'm stoked that it's happening. I'm stoked that it's here. How's the leak, Aaron? Well, it's not leaking currently. There is a cat-sized lump in the carpet by the threshold of the door because it has gone down the frame, I guess. Even though I had a bucket there on the first drop area, that bucket is dried and didn't have that bad of a leak, but apparently underneath it's getting soaked, and it's running in these seams that I can't see. So there's a huge problem that they're going to have to resolve. I put up a maintenance request for them to come in and check it out. So hopefully they don't have to remove this entire ceiling and replace it in order to fix it, and then I have to move everything for a month while they do that, because they haven't been fast with anything else. So I can't imagine they'll replace this entire ceiling, retexture it, which I don't care if they ever do, and actually put it together. I can't imagine they'll do that quickly. So welcome in. I got Kathy, Ron, Dave, and Blake, and there was another one. No, it's just you four that have been talking. Awesome, sweet. So we're going live in 7 minutes and 23 seconds. I'm excited for the new year. I hope that all of you have nailed every one of your New Year's resolutions, and you think, you know what, 4 days in, I'm good. I don't have to worry about them anymore. Because in my case, I just pretty much given up on all of them. Oh, wow, sorry. That was probably a loud slurp. I'm sorry about that. Let me know if you guys think this is too loud. I'm looking at the feed of... looking at the file of the audio mic, and it looks like there might be some extra heavy volume. Ray's here. Awesome. Hey, Ray. Hey. And David Carpenter's here. Hey, man. Awesome. I'm glad you guys can make it. I haven't even announced this Milky Way Wednesday until pretty much 20 minutes before. Kathy gets on and goes, oh, I didn't know you were going to be on. I guess I'll record my show that I was about to watch. Sorry about the late notice. I didn't think I was going to be on. I thought it'd be impossible. I was starting to write up a text to Blake going, hey, you know what, man? I know I told you that I'd be going live, but forget it. It's not happening. But here we are. Have a great 2023. Thank you. Keep looking up, all right? Exactly, Andy. Exactly, man. I'm excited about 2023. I have an irrational judgment of years where once that transition from December 31st to January 1st, it's like a whole new magical era ahead of you. And even though the measurement of time is irrational and arbitrary, it's not irrational. It's pretty rational, but it's arbitrary at least. It's still fun to think about how, all these 365 days ahead of us, it's going to be fantastic, and I can change things. And so it's just great to be here. And I'm shaking my shake around. What's up? So I'm going to be going and taking care of my... You guys know that I do makeup for these live streams sometimes. I think I've told you a couple times. I go and put on some powder. Try and make this face not look all glistening by 45 minutes in. If I have any tech issues, I glisten within like 4 seconds, so it doesn't even matter if I have makeup, I have tech issues. But speaking of tech, my new box set that has all the buttons and the new transitions, they don't exist yet. It's not here. I mean, it's here, but it's not working because I had a blast with my kids over Christmas. From Christmas to New Year's Day, I had my chillins, and it was fun having them with me, and I just focused on them. So I thought, you know what, it's okay if I procrastinate. I take them home on the 3rd. I'll be able to do everything. Well, on the 1st, the leak started, and I had to take my computer carefully out and make sure I didn't wiggle water puddles somewhere on the inside that I couldn't see yet onto important circuits because it hadn't turned off from the water damage. So I wanted to just unplug it and then move it slowly and let it dry away from where it was dripping. And so for 2 days it's been drying. So I haven't done a dang thing. Wynn's here. Hey, Wynn. Hello from Houston, Texas. Happy New Year. Oh, man, I'm stoked. Oh, I should be doing my short videos. It's already 4 minutes until we're going live. Well, my friends, it's time for you to watch yet another clip of Aaron King doing something you've already seen him do 7 times, then I'll be back for more in 4 minutes. Day 3. This is the 3rd place I've gone. Didn't go very far because I went up to the silo the first time, then went up to Salt Flats, that's 2 hours north, and back home, and then 3rd night, the Trestle. Actually, the silo is just about 18 minutes up that direction, and so this is close to the silo, and this is the train trestle. It's an abandoned train trestle, and 3 days into my 23 days of doing a Milky Way every night for the great Milky Way chase, I have to admit, I think the challenge so far is that I'm not getting a lot of sleep. Just like last night, I'm using this Rokinon lens. I think I'm gonna use the Rokinon lens every video. This is my Canon 5D Mark IV. At the Trestle, there's a couple shots. There's this area that you can shoot down the tracks in a late Milky Way, and then you can also go down below. This railroad tie right here only goes so far. You can't see it in the shadows there, but it terminates at that point. It doesn't have any more railroad ties, and this abandoned, like, wooden cool trestle is awesome. And so I come here and I get a shot in the late Milky Way season, and I go down all the way, or I shoot down this and see the Milky Way all the way down at the end, or I go down there and I capture what I'm going to capture tonight. I was just thinking about how scary it is coming here alone. I don't know what it is about going across abandoned constructions and buildings. You feel like everything's haunted. I'm walking across this trestle already thinking about the ghosts and going, no, Aaron, keep it together. There's no ghosts here. There's nothing out here. You'll be fine. And then these 2 giant wings start flapping, and I think there were a pair of owls maybe, because birds typically don't fly at night, and they were too big to be bats, and they flew out from perched underneath this and scared the dickens out of me. Oh my god. So I'm gonna get this done quickly. I'm out here now trying to set up my shot. This area below, can you see it? No, you can't see anything. There you go. That is the train trestle. Woo! So now I need to light this thing from this side where I can shoot through it and see the Milky Way. I've done this many times, but I'm wondering how I want to do it tonight, because I want to have my lights come at a different angle than where I'm shooting from. So if I am shooting from around here and see the Milky Way over there, I want the lights to not be in this angle, because then everything's really flat. I want it to have a nice oblique angle, crossing angle, perpendicular angle. That's gonna make this look good. So I think what I'll do is I'll put the light over there this time really, really low, shining across this way. No, first I'm gonna try a light behind, because I have 2 lights. I just don't need to show you guys me. So I'm gonna do a backlit rim light plus a side. I've never done that before. Okay, yeah. I'm gonna try that out. So I'm capturing right now. What I'm doing, before I turn this light off of me and I go and place it over there, I wanted to see how my rim lighting is looking. And so that is a little bit too bright. And so now I know to go back there, bring that down, and then come and highlight it. But it's spooky looking, it's cool. I kind of like it. I am going around trying different compositions. This time of year, when the moon is not going to be up at 12:52 a.m., I can wait for the Milky Way to go more vertical and get the shot that I can get from over there, looking down the tracks, and the Milky Way is turning up, you know? So it's nice. And so from here, and here we go. It's 2023, and we got the same graphic over there. I should be looking at the camera long ago, but I was so excited to watch it. I just a few weeks off, and I get excited seeing that graphic going off, that it is Milky Way Wednesday. I am excited to be here despite the fact that I almost wasn't. Sometimes when I can't quite make it, I get nervous and go, let me bail, I'll do it next week. Welcome in. I'm Aaron King with Photog Adventures, and I'm here enjoying some protein powder with my New Year's resolution. Woo! I am actually having a healthy diet New Year's resolution. Last year I had a workout resolution, and I was awesome at it. I have giant pecs buried underneath these pudding cups, but they are massively stronger than they used to be, and I am stoked that this year with the diet, I can trim off the pudding and enjoy more of the filling, if you know what I mean. Oh man, I'm cracking myself up with these weird metaphors for fat. Oh, welcome in. Keith is here too. Hey Keith. So we've got an awesome group today. I can see in chat that we've got a lot of people talking and wishing Happy New Year to each other. Because you're saying Happy New Year, I'm going to bring this up right away at the beginning of the feed. We have a 1-day sale. So I'm telling you, this opportunity is the best time to sign up for a Milky Way photography workshop with me. If you can and you have the schedule to do it, join me out on one of these workshops that I'm selling. Now, I have other workshops on my schedule that aren't on here under this discount, but you'll see that I'm including 2023 and 2024. So if you were thinking, man, I keep missing that Escalante workshop. Aaron keeps saying Escalante is his favorite Milky Way workshop, but I always miss out because there's only 3 that get to go unless you bring your own vehicle and you can drive around like Kathy in a giant Jeep that can go over everything. We only fit 3 on this workshop to fit in my vehicle comfortably as I drive you into the monument every night. So if you're looking for a workshop where you can drive to a safe location on freeways and then have Aaron King drive you at night, or just enjoy my favorite dark sky in Utah, my favorite rocks and composition ease in Utah, it's Escalante. And I have 2 of them coming up next year that are, I think there's 6 available spots still. I don't think anyone's taken one yet, although there was a sale that happened just before we went live. And Rob, I'm stoked that you're coming, man. So, hey, welcome in. These are available to you. I told you about them, but I never actually gave you a link to actually go see them. Right here in the chat, check it out. This bit.ly link will take you right here, and you can see the sell. So this is going to end in about 5 hours, or 6 hours exactly. 1 a.m. Pacific time, this will be over, and it's just a flat $1,000, which everything is $1,800, so it's saving $800. But if you come on one of these 7-night ones, you actually get a $2,000 to $1,000 deal. So that's pretty fantastic. A lot of great locations, and my absolute favorites, Escalante. Oh man. Oh, and by the way, for those of you who have come to other workshops with me and haven't been to some, or are thinking, you know what, Aaron, I've gone and done everything. I'm not sure if I'm interested in anything that you've got right now because I've already done it. Well, Kathy, I know you're coming to Death Valley, but maybe Moab Arches area is something interesting to you. I'm actually going to do a Moab and Arches National Park workshop in 2024. It is going to be a chance. Oh, I clicked on the link to go buy it. I don't want to buy it right now. I'll buy it later. This is the opportunity for me to take advantage of an area that's typically crazy, and I never want to do it, but I haven't done it in all the 6 years of doing Milky Way photography workshops, and it's like, you just got to try it. Just go for it. You got some really great spots that you know how to get to. Delicate Arch, we could probably be happy with it, even if there's 100 people there with us, and I know that there'll be some frustration as people shine lights or go underneath the arch. But it's Delicate Arch. I know that Alan Wallace said that it's the worst location in Utah, which he's not wrong, which is why I've avoided it for workshops. But when it comes to capturing the other areas in Arches National Park plus around Moab, it's going to be a fun workshop. I'm excited for it. So you guys hop in on that if you want to get any of these. It'll be back there for another 6 hours. All right, cool. So looking at what we have this day to talk about, we are talking about our December Milky Way Photo Challenge. Here's the challenge that we're having already. Oh, Tim Farmer says he wants to go to Salt Flats. Oh, Tim, definitely. I mean, looking at the timings that I have available for the Salt Flats, this one in April might be the best bet to have the water we need. I might not be able to drive out any further, but we'll be able to walk on the water and get ourselves there. If I have to bring plastic galoshes for everyone, we're doing it, and we're going to get a reflected Milky Way at the Salt Flats. And doing it in April has the most opportunity for there to still be moisture or at least a recent rain. Then going into June of the next year, that opportunity is pretty awesome, but it is likely to be dry in June 3rd or 2nd of 2018. I captured that picture that's right here. So I've captured this picture in June, and June 8th is early enough, but it's been a crapshoot ever since. So come and do it, Tim. Come join me. Oh, Kathy's never seen the Salt Flats? Holy crap. I know that Kathy's gone to so many other workshops, and I just assumed you've been to the Salt Flats. Joe Choi, I love Moonshiners. I've been looking for the next one to air, but now I know there's one. Yes, if everyone wants to go watch Moonshiners, it's on right now. Go enjoy it and come back on a replay and watch. I will not be offended. I know that there's priorities in life. Speaking of priorities, Milky Way photography. This challenge that we've had, I think that, oh man, Tim's going to move out here. Sweet, do it, man. I had a challenge, and I'm sure you did. There were a few nights I can do it around family events and Christmas and holidays, and those nights got skunked with clouds. And so I'm realizing might not have been enough time for this challenge to go on with everybody's opportunity of getting out. So I'm extending this Milky Way photo challenge for the winter Milky Way through January. You have the rest of January to do it, and I will award a winner in the beginning of February of those images. However, tonight I do have a winner for my favorite of them, and his competition is not as tight as it will be next month. So just, I almost gave it away. You know, there's only 3 J's, so it's probably obvious. Justin Miller, his image is the best. And it's the best because default, it's already in style with Winter Milky Way. Or I'm saying blah, blah. It's already within the parameters of the contest. It is a Winter Milky Way shot, as well as it's pretty cool. I love a lot about it. And we're going to talk about that today. So if you're thinking about getting in for the Winter Milky Way Challenge, follow the advice of Justin Miller here to get a shot that will be Aaron's favorite, because he will win the December Milky Way Challenge, but January's Milky Way Challenge, same challenge, Winter Milky Way Panorama, we're going to have some more submissions by then, and we'll probably have some opportunity to do it without the challenge of the clouds always in the way. Just that moon and the clouds and the timing of Christmas, it just did not work well for me. I haven't got it. Oh, and Joe says I can delete the picture. Well, I won't be deleting it. I am going to be talking about it because it teaches a great lesson that I wanted to be included in this today. So we are going to go through these images and do a Milky Way moment of envy today. So we're probably going to get out early so we can all watch Moonshiners, and we'll have a chance to go and enjoy our dinner earlier. Huh, Aaron? Wink, wink. His dinner of shake mud. But this is actually not meant to be my dinner. I was just thirsty. All right, let's get into this Milky Way moment of envy. And today's Milky Way moment of envy is going to include some critiques with advice. So it's not just going to be, man, I love that. You're awesome. I want to help everyone get an idea about what I'm looking for awesome Milky Ways for the winter Milky Way panorama on top of just getting out there and doing it. So let's bring in our iPad and let's talk. All right, cool. So the chat's down below me. I'll be keeping an eye up here. If you have any comments that you want me to bring up, just hit it in all caps. Hit me in all caps, and I got it. All right, so we're going to start off with this image from Michael McKeague. And this is a non-winter Milky Way panorama, but it is a terrific Milky Way panorama. And I want you to focus on the key thing that Michael has done right here. And as I start this, I am going to draw on it with I'm not sure why I'm telling you why I'm going to draw on it. I just want to point out some stars. So we're going to circle this star. We're going to circle this star. And then I believe I think it's off screen, to be honest, unless it's just puckered. Yeah, it's puckered. There's Vega. Welcome back, Vega. So if you're looking at this, why am I bringing up Vega? Why am I so stoked about what Michael has done here? Let me tell you that when you capture a panorama and you're looking at how to frame it up in front of you, one of the key things you need to do is level it out. Obviously, tripod level, make sure that's good. But then the second key thing is that you should swing that out on the position you're currently in, whether you're horizontal or vertical. Typically, you will be vertical. I recommend it. Go vertical on your orientation and then swing out towards the middle of the Milky Way. In this section, right here, this to this, that frame that's going to capture that picture. As you'll notice that this is the kind of arch peak, the apex of the peak of this arch is within this frame, and that's key to look for. And what happens is that it hasn't happened There has not been a mistake in any of the images I'm sharing today. Everyone has done it correctly. What happens sometimes is that when you go here and line up, you check to make sure your Milky Way looks good, and then you start continuing off and you do this with that. And you notice the arrows pointing towards the circle. That section of the Milky Way band ends up being at the top of your frame. And when you get it stuck at the top of your frame, what ends up happening is the stretch, the puckering, the weirdness on whether you're doing a barrel projection or a orb, a round spherical projection. You go through on your Lightroom, and it specifically calls them cylinder projection or a spherical. And when you deal with 2 rows, you've got to do spherical. When you deal with 1 row, you can do cylindrical, but cylindrical typically gives you this weird stretch from top to bottom. And I just stay with spherical almost 100% of the time when I'm doing panoramas. So on the spherical projection, what happens at the top is you get some stretch towards the center that is warping and stretching and pulling in. And when you only give yourself this much, like if you give yourself, imagine where I colored yellow is cut off. Imagine that at the top of this blue line and the yellow line, that's the top of the frame. If you're only giving yourself that much of the Milky Way in your frame, when it comes to your center, you're going to have some stretching and weirdness that happens inside your critical area. And that sucks. It starts to ruin your stitch. It starts to ruin the overall look of the image, and you miss out on it and you hate it. And then maybe you'll crop it off later in your image, and you'll be disappointed that you did, but the reason why you had to is because you started getting weirdness in the Milky Way band. I believe that's possibly what happened to our friend, right here, our friend over on Instagram. Oh, you know what? Last time, you know what? If anyone remembers what happened when I got all like red-faced because my Instagram showed a chick, the fact was it was a photographer who does landscape who also took a picture of a chick. So I don't have to feel like embarrassed, like what happened? How did I get that picture in there? It was a photographer's fault. A photographer betrayed me. But I'm going to go ahead and play it safe this time because who knows, Daniel Corden just shared a picture and it could have been something scary. I mean, it is a tree, but All right, so we're going to go into my friend Pat Passetti, and PDX Pat is his Instagram, and he has a fantastic picture of the Crater Lake that I want to show off that has possibly a situation where this is what happened to him. Let me go back to my screen, and let's turn off the iPad. So as you look in this image, you can see how the top of his Milky Way is cropped off. I'm certain that he saw it in his picture. So what may have occurred is as he's building his stitch, he got that top part of the Milky Way band too close to the edge, and everything up there was too hideous and was better to crop. It looked better to be cropped. He was featuring Wizard Island down here, and it's a glorious capture of Wizard Island. You go down from the Watchman Overlook, and you come to this one wall towards the end of it, and you get the saddle shape right here that really opens up your view of Wizard Island at Crater Lake. And look at the air glow that's going off. I mean, Pat, this is so cool with your air glow. I mean, look at the ripple textures in it. This isn't aurora, this is air glow, and it's looking awesome. And unfortunately, the Milky Way not only probably got too high for him, but he didn't crop it at the right spot that we're going to talk about next to keep that working. So that's why I wanted to feature these images and talk about this today on the Milky Way Wednesday, as well as savor and celebrate those who submitted for the December challenge. So let's go back and erase all this other writing. At the very beginning of this, I said something about these stars. Why is this asterism of Vega, Altair, and Deneb? Here's Vega, here's Altair, oh, that's Deneb, here's Altair, and back to Vega. That triangle, that summer triangle, is important. What happens is that you find out that this thing is high enough, the Vega part is high enough above the core that so long as you crop your framing above Vega, you're going to be good. So using Vega, you can give yourself enough headroom above the Milky Way band to capture a panorama that you won't have to contort or change or even sadly crop. And Pat's image may not be cropped, maybe something completely else, but it has a glorious capture of the core. It has a really terrific air glow and a beautiful horizon of Crater Lake captured at his blue hour. I just love it. It's fantastic. So I want to celebrate that, Pat, but also give some advice for those who might be thinking, my Milky Way panorama, whether winter or full season, core Milky Way panorama, you want to make sure that you get a high enough headroom above that horizon, or above that top apex of the arch, so that you don't have to do weirdness in cropping later as the stitch gets put together. All right, so now looking at Mike's, we had a good lesson with it, and I really like Mike's image, but there's something here that's terrific on what he has to work with. This right here, the light that's happening out there, is so good compared to what he had. He just really didn't have a lot going on. His entire organic horizon line covers like this, all the way across. It's like I have a false peak drawn right here because I just accidentally flubbed it with my pen. And you can see that there's really no dynamic height whatsoever in his horizon. He's just got nothing to work with in this area. It's really dark, it's hyper clear, but he doesn't have a really interesting foreground subject that's coming out and working better. Oh, Tim Farmer, is it better to do 2 rows? Hey, yes, in some cases. When you have a shot like Michael McKeague's here, there'd be no reason to do 2 rows. You don't have anything in the foreground that's going and spending another third below your horizon line that you really want to keep. 2 rows is only beneficial when you've gone too late in the night or too late in the season and your Milky Way core or Milky Way band is going too high in the sky and you have to try and capture the horizon plus that really tall Milky Way band. Otherwise, your only time that you really need 2 rows is when you're working with like a foreground like Crater Lake that is a chasm. You're standing at the rim at the horizon point and below you is the chasm foreground and above you is your sky, and so 2 rows is critical here, but not critical in the situation like Michael McKeague's. So looking at this image right here, when you think about what he can work with, Mike was brilliant with making sure he centered this, because he could have been anywhere along this path and captured the same Milky Way band, full arch going across. He could have captured all of that easily without being in this position, but he centered this to center weight it that made it strong. He made it really strong with what he had to work with. And so this is a solid Milky Way. The capture exposure is great. He cropped a little bit of our Milky Way off the edge, which is sad, and there's no row of Fuki. So pay attention to 2 things when you want to try and crop your 3 things. Let's say 3 things. When you're trying to decide how to crop your Milky Way pano. And we'll use these other images to teach that. But great job, Mike. So now we're going to go into, who is this? Steve Thompson, right? Let me double check. Yeah, I think this was Steve Thompson's. Let me double check over here. Yeah, Steve Thompson. So Steve Thompson submitted this one. And this is a Milky Way that is more towards May, he said. And it works really well around clouds. That's one of the things that I wanted to feature here in his image. Look at how our core, it's starting to get obstructed by a little bit of clouds. But even though these clouds exist over here, all of this going across, those clouds, especially these ones underneath here, they're not a problem. Our most favorite spot is all right here, and the only part where it gets blocked is here and here. The rest, everything that we're seeing right here, here, and here, totally open. It doesn't matter that there were some clouds, and quite a bit of clouds, honestly. Quite a bit of clouds to try and block your Milky Way core, but the timing that Steve got, he worked with it very well. So then we look at this and go, all right, Aaron, what other tips do we have here? Here's another trouble where he had that Mike had, where his subject foreground just doesn't have enough. He did have a really cool light bloom that's in the center here, maybe a moonrise, maybe a city out there that is just totally local light pollution, not too big, but enough to make a nice bloom that's starting to take away some of the negative space that we have in this shape right here. All of that shape in there is typically negative space with the Milky Way panorama, and so that ends up being something that you need to get something in here to kind of balance out your image. Because he has some clouds, he has something else interesting in the shot, and especially love the reflection here. Now, could he have made that reflection show up in a different spot? Could that have been a leading line to the core? I don't know. I don't think so. Looking at where he's parked right here, I think the only thing he had was road and this beautiful view, and he didn't want the road in the shot. And so it ends up being a left third, not a right third leading line out to what is going on, and then we just kind of enjoy the rest of the image like that. And it still works really well, and thankful to this leading line, he has something that carries us out into the Milky Way. Even though he has nothing protruding or going above and breaking the plane of the horizon, he still has something that's gathering our eyes and taking us up. And with that, it's a win. And then if he had the luck of something interesting to take care of that negative space, it was good. But here's the other thing that he did really well, and something that you see with Vega being right there. He has lots of room to work with, but also he has lots of room to work with the core. When you're thinking about where should I go off the core, how far, you're thinking about your frame. Let's just pretend like this was his frame. And as you're moving across your frame, pop, pop, pop. Let's pretend like it was the whole window. Let's just do that. So let's go do a whole window frame. So this is the frame that he captured his shot. And you're thinking, here's my Milky Way core. I'm going to put it in the center of my frame so I can have it center of the lens and look terrific. But then how much further off to the right should I be going? And so when you're working with your panoramas for the next challenge, this January challenge of Winter Milky Way Panorama still, how far off to the right and left of your Milky Way band should you go? And a nice comfortable measurement is basically getting the core in the center and Rho Ophiuchi in the center, and you're good. You've covered it. That Rho Ophiuchi spot right there, you know my favorite one, I'll zoom in here in a sec. That in the center of your frame, core in the center of your frame is given plenty of room on the right, and then you just make sure you clear Vega and then continue on and you get Cassiopeia. That constellation will be your center of your frame on this side, and then you should just move it to the third on the right, and then you know you're good. So any star from Cassiopeia in the center, and then move it off to the right third, and you've given yourself a balance where you have this much extra space on the left, this much extra space on the right, and you have a great frame. So, Rho Ophiuchi, if you haven't remembered my absolute favorite tip, Rho Ophiuchi complex right there, that is something that is gorgeous. It looks great. In Pat's image, it looked really terrifically colored. Right there, you can see it shining. Oh, it's cool. It's like a jewel in the sky, and it's fantastic and fun way to get some interest outside of this frame. So when you think about, I mentioned negative space. This negative space right here, going along your horizon, whatever your horizon is, and then you have negative space kind of around the Milky Way band all the way here. So then pretty much all this out to the edge of the frame going down, that's negative space. Can't even see it, but you know what I mean, that edge of the frame. So when you've got this shape above the core, it extends, and this becomes positive on the balance of negative positive when you're dealing with dominant and subdominant features in your composition. That Rho Ophiuchi helps. It's good. It's a good anchor for your pano. It's a good anchor for your space and your composition. So you want to make sure you get that Rho Ophiuchi in there. In the Winter Milky Way, we don't have that. I'm not even quite sure what I should focus on as like the three main elements to balance out your composition yet with the Winter Milky Way. You have that amazing, we'll talk about it at the end with the final shot with the winner, Justin Miller. So this turned out really well from Steve Thompson. Really like it, and I know that he went to a dark sky. He risked being attacked by wolves, looks like, and yet he got a great shot, as well as dealing with a, flaccid foreground. Just nothing interesting going on there at all. All right, so now Joe wanted me to throw this away, but not because this image is bad, but because it wasn't meant to be part of the contest. He was just testing the load for me, and I just never deleted it because I love it so much. So here is a perfect example of what I'm talking about with a negative and positive space being balanced out terrifically. We have two things going on here. First, let's focus on the center point. This is magnificent. You've got a real cool structure that's breaking the plane. You really got to be careful when you draw lighthouses. Let's just highlight it and draw a T. That works for me. This is a strong vertical feature that is taking advantage of what he has in that negative space around the Milky Way core. And so you're looking at something that not only has a cool shape, cool style, but also a light source on top, but it breaks the plane of that third. Here's the third of my frame, here's the next third, and as I come up into it, it works. If I were to let my seat go all the way down, and I was down here, I'd still be in frame with the camera, and I'm still able to do my live stream, but look at my headroom. Like, I am barely breaking the first third, and I'm entering the middle, and that's not as strong of a position for me to be. Fully up in my chair, I take up the whole frame. From framed edge to edge, I have a solid position in my camera framing, as well as what you see here with Joe having an awesome lighthouse. Now, here's the other thing he has going for him that Pat Passetti had going for him in his shot, and this is a bookend balance. You have something that on the right in the organic foreground, the subject foreground that has this organic shape, it exists on the right and starts to bookend and cradle the core, as well as an equally strong and almost equally high bookend on the left. So he has a high point right here, and the high point right here is just a little bit higher, just kind of barely higher. I think I even drew my left example a little too high. So his was just barely up on one side versus the other, which is actually better. You don't necessarily want something interesting at the same height on both sides. It's really cool to have something at a different height and then something in the middle. And so that works out really well, having this have a little bit more height here than he's getting with what is more strong on the roof. The chimney does poke up, but the roof is what's drawing our eyes kind of more, that edge of the roof. So looking at this bookend shape of his foreground, he's able to get core to the Cassiopeia area of the Milky Way band doing really well and looking really good in his panorama. So this is why it sits here at the top of the non-winter Milky Way frame shots. I love it. It's a really good shot, Joe. Absolutely have no complaints here with this image. The only thing I would tell you if I was in person with you, I'd be like, hey, Joe, bring your exposure up, man. Looks like you underexposed that core a little bit, but who knows when he captured this. This might have been something he captured years ago, and he's been capturing with way higher ISO or doing a Star Tracker ever since. So, looks really good. I love it. So, Jeroen Linnenkamp. Hoe gaat het, jongen? Is goed, hè? Jawel. This is Jeroen, who I interviewed on the podcast. He's from the Netherlands, and he is capturing a winter Milky Way here, which makes his number 2 runner-up for the best of this month. And let's look at his winter Milky Way and get familiar with a little bit of the features. Now, right off the bat, you know I'm loving it, right? Talking about the negative space, when you start working with that negative space and bringing something cool in it, this is a church, I imagine, and it is really fascinating with the reflective actual pond here. Like, the only thing I would love if Jeroen had the possibility to do is to get closer to that pond, because there's nothing between here and here that I'm like, oh, lekker, I want that, I want to see that more. Lekker is a Dutch thing. So, like, if he took his tripod up closer on top of this, and then we saw this whole structure reflected down here in front of us as a mirror image, I mean, imagine the coolness of that coming up like that, something similar. And that reflection being there and then getting the Milky Way panel over. I mean, this is a great shot, and he's got the Milky Way panel, and you can see with his camera, I don't believe this was his Astro-modified camera at the time, because I just expect a lot more color coming out of this, man. But maybe it was just the light pollution and some moon cutting you back or something, because you can see that here is Orion. And you can see the strong orange of Betelgeuse. And then you can also see what is going to be kind of a distraction in most images right here with their astromodification. It's so bright. It's the North American Nebula, I think. I got to get more familiar with that. I'll do that on the Milky Way Wednesday, where we talk about the anatomy of the winter Milky Way sky. So looking at this is a terrific arch, and without the core being involved, there's no core. It's just kind of both sides have the similar strength, and that arch comes across, and he's given it plenty of room, lots of headroom to make it work out. We don't have Vega at the top. What do we have? It looks like what we have is, let me think. that actually might be Deneb. But I think I'm wrong. I need to double check it because I'm turned upside down and backwards. And so we're going to do the anatomy of it and figure out what bright star that is. But I'm thinking it is Deneb. But that's got to not be Deneb. So we'll look at that and figure it out. But we have a star that's kind of a good headroom case, but there's nothing really clear. So you'd have to give yourself extra headroom in the middle just to make sure you have it. And as you're looking at your Milky Way shot in the winter Milky Way, get something that helps be strong in the framing of the subject so that you have a foreground subject that's interesting, and then make that sky sing. And no matter, it depends on how much your astro-modified camera handles, how it handles the color. You may or may not have tons going on in your sky, or you're going to have a quiet sky like in your runes here. Now, Angelo says down below, and I saw this earlier, but no one responded to him, so I wanted to respond to him now. Oh, yeah, Justin Miller says, what's up, Aaron? Hey, Justin Miller. You are the winner, by the way. Angelo Garcia says, I have never seen a Milky Way that looks like that. And we were back on an image with Michael McKeague when he saw that. No, maybe it was also Stevens, probably Steve Thompson's. And, yeah, man. If you haven't gone out during our Northern Hemisphere time, if you're Northern Hemisphere by chance, if you haven't gone out between February and June and enjoyed the Milky Way panorama arching across the sky, you've really got to go. Now, in front of you, how it arches like that, that's a cool way to see it and to capture it. But if you go in July or August, September, you'll still see the full panorama, the full arch of it. It's just going to be vertically right above your head. And it's still fascinating and amazing to look at. It's just when it comes to a picture and the composition, it's nice to have, here's your foreground. Okay, come towards this way. Yeah, okay. Foreground down here, Milky Way arch at the highest point, and then you got your extra space here. And have that kind of framing is terrific. But when it gets too high, you lose it. So yeah, man, this is the Milky Way panorama. That is fantastic. Oh, 732. I'm doing pretty good on an early spot. Oh yeah, my buddy's asked me if we're going to go out to Eagles this year, take some photos of Eagles. That'd be awesome. Okay, so looking at Justin Miller's winning shot. Justin, you're here. Hit us up with a little information on this. If I go back into your image, did you talk about it? He doesn't talk about it specifically, but he has the elements of what Joe Choi had with the same kind of lighthouse centerpiece. And one thing I'm loving about this one from Justin's is that he's lucky to have a lighthouse house next to the lighthouse. So he has some more shape than just that vertical, He's actually got a really neat, looks like a gun sitting on its side pointing straight up. That right there takes up some more space and more interest, as well as he's got an interesting tree line that has different height points to make little interesting organic lines that go across your frame. And that carries his foreground. In a way, the melted snow and where the grass is kind of overly helpful with lining up our eyes. We're looking at this and thinking, okay, actually I want that off. I like how this is carrying a shape in symmetry with the other shape. I like how around the lighthouse you have an interesting, almost pond-like organic shape feel. And looking at, it was Steven's shot, Tim Farmer says. Thanks, Tim. Awesome. Sweet. And so Justin's like, what? Yeah, man. This shot is my favorite of December. I absolutely love it. And I'm curious, is what's happening right here... Okay, I got to get off my frame. Is what's happening right here... It can't be Aurora, because I'm thinking that's not the north. But then Orion's way over there on the west. So that must be early morning Orion, not early night Orion. So that could possibly be the north. And I was trying to see if I can recognize Cassiopeia, but I can't. So I'm thinking that could possibly be the north over here, and I'm not entirely certain. So really cool Aurora or just some funky light pollution? It's just the pink is Aurora. The yellow is light pollution most likely, but that being on the right is throwing me off. It's where the north would be. You're looking west, and the right would be the north. But for some reason, I thought it couldn't be. But it is, because you're looking west. North is on your right. South is on your left. Opposite of what happens in the east, obviously. So, yeah, that's Aurora. It might even be a really cool orange, yellow, pink aurora, which has happened recently. Kathy's asking, is that Tawas Point? That's a cool lighthouse that she probably knows, because Kathy's seen nearly 700 more, 800 more lighthouses in her life and records it. So it's the aurora, he says, for sure. Okay, good. I was turned around. Like I said, I got to do the anatomy of the Western Milky Way panel. And he says, no, it's a regular Canon 5D Mark IV. No mod, he said, from Tim's ask. Whether I had to mod, and he says it's early morning, about 3 a.m., which is a great time. It's a very cool shot. Let me get all my drawings off of it so that you can focus on the really great, clear framing of this. So we talk about the aurora. We talk about this section of the sky. This part of the sky's anatomy. We'll come back and mention the stars, and we'll find out the big, vibrant ones. Looking at Betelgeuse. Then we've also got a planet right here, and I'm guessing it's Jupiter. It's so bright, but it could be Mars at opposition. This is the Pleiades right there, and you're also looking at what I was talking about earlier, this shape. I think this is more of accurate the North American Nebula than I was pointing out in the other frame. But that right there is what you see in the Western Winter Milky Way. Joe says it correct. I so miss the aurora. Oh, man. Yeah. Mary Beth hits it so often, and she's never fallen out of love with it. I've seen the Milky Way so often. I've never fallen out of love with it. There's something about our celestial night sky that just it touches my heart. It makes me love. Kathy says, it's been about 10 years since I was out at that one. It's still beautiful. And also, I saw Justin's settings. Foreground is 9 photos at f4, ISO 800. And he's going to tell us the sky here in a second. Sweet. Actually, you know what? I'm seeing f4 90 seconds at ISO. Oh, that's the one you just told us. Darn. I was hoping that was going to give us the one that you haven't mentioned. But yeah, it's taken on the stats of the foreground. So this is the favorite, absolute favorite of December. Oh, look at that. Brilliant handwriting. Favorite, stamp, bam, stamped it. This was such a good shot. I'm going to be featuring this in a couple videos and talking about Justin's image here to favorite him, to give him lots of credibility, give him lots of just praise and celebration, because I love this image so much. We will be doing the contest with the Winter Milky Way again in January, because we most likely all got skunked like me, and it was kind of a difficult month to try and fit it in with clouds, moon, and where the holiday was. Just ran all into each other. The best nights would have been around Christmas, and I tried. I was in Denver. I drove through. Kathy, I made it through I-70, by the way. I went through the Wyoming side into Denver area, and I was going to go shoot somewhere near dunes, mountains, whatever I could find, just to go somewhere new and look west towards mountains. And no, it didn't work out. And then I drove through I-70 and thought about Kathy's 6 times that she's gone through there, and like 5 out of 6, she's never made it without stopping and having to sit there for hours. So I was grateful that I made it through when I did. Scroll up for the sky, he says. Actually, I'm seeing the full screen here, and it says the date, then it says the sky. There's no scroll on the info. It's not letting me scroll anything, so I'll need your information on your side, Justin. Hook us up. He's been saying he's had crazy aurora here in Michigan, but it's totally clouded over right now. Yeah, absolutely. He had to drive 4 hours from Grand Rapids, and this was the day before the blizzard. Wow. Oh, man. Dedicated. Awesome. I love it. So, terrific shot. I can't wait to talk more about it and feature Justin's capture. Just a reminder for everyone who didn't hear me in the beginning, there is a sale. This is something I don't want you to do. Do not do this. It would be a waste of my money if you do it, where you take advantage of this deal that I'm doing. It's a one-day sale. Every year I do a New Year flash sale, and that New Year flash sale is $1,000 only, and all these workshops down below are $1,000. You can get a $2,000 4-night or 7-night workshop for only $1,000, which is the best deal on the board. Then you've also got all these $1,800 workshops that are only $1,000, so you're saving $800. You don't need to do this deal. You don't have to take advantage of this tonight. You can come in tomorrow or next month and buy these workshops at full price. I wouldn't mind. But for any of you who really want to get out with me and haven't been able to like really budget out a crazy workshop cost on top of the travel, this is your chance. This is why I do it. I do it to start the year off in a fun way and get people out on adventures. And the more people I see sign up, like for instance, I got a guy signed up for Death Valley all ready for 2024, and it gets me excited for that year and excited that people are coming. So I'm stoked about this, but you don't have to take this deal. Don't do it. Don't rob me. Don't do it. Don't go and take this deal right now, because I'd be so sad if you do. I hope you actually do. I hope you come out, because if you come out with something that had a sweet discount on top of it, it just makes you feel good. People always tell me when they buy a pack of gum on discount, they're like, this gum was only 30 cents. You're like, wow, okay. It's just something that's funny with humans, that if they get a discount and they buy it, it's valuable. It's awesome. So I'm hoping that you find this valuable and you come join me out in these workshops. These adventures are... The only ones on here mentioned are the Milky Way ones, and there's 2 new locations if you come out with me before. We got Death Valley as well as Moab Arches. We're going to be in the Moab area doing Arches National Park and other spots around Moab that are terrific for sunrise and sunset in May. So that is something I'm really excited about. Panorama in Arches in May. I've never done it. I can't wait. I usually am so busy with other locations that I can't do it. And now the mute is over. You got to watch me sneeze, but you didn't have to hear me, so that's a win. Oh, gads. Whew. All right, everybody. Thanks for hanging out with Milky Way Wednesday with me. Thanks to everybody here who is chatting and sharing tips with each other and talking about their New Year resolutions. If you weren't here earlier, you didn't know about this. See that? See all those streaks? That's the waterfall. And that's the inside of my computer. Isn't that awesome? The inside of my computer case looks like I dropped chocolate milk on it, because rusty brown water from the roof leaked through my ceiling and dropped. Tip, tip, tip. A couple hours into New Year's Day, I'm hearing bida-boop-boop, ba-ba-ba-boom, bada-ba-boom, ba-ba-ba-boom. I'm like, wait a second, that's the sound of a USB getting connected and disconnected. My kids are right here in this room. Who's doing that? So I go back to my computer and I look on the screen. I see an error message saying it can't connect to the USB device. I'm like, I'm not trying to connect a USB device. So I go in the back of my computer to see what might be connecting or disconnecting, and I notice on my 2 external hard drives like this, there was a puddle of water right here, a giant puddle of water. It was on both interfaces into the SATA connection. It was sitting there flooded, and yeah, eventually it started going, oh, I can't connect, oh, I'm connecting, oh, I can't connect, oh, I'm connecting. It was a horror. It was emotional damage. I couldn't believe it, and so I immediately unplugged the computer, and then, well, no, I turned the power off on its own. I let it boot itself down. Then I unplugged it, and then I just slowly, carefully pulled the box out from underneath the waterfall, the Chinese water torture waterfall. Like, it was a very slow, over hours of time, drop after drop every 20 seconds. And I pulled it out, got it there, and then just let the computer dry for 2 days. So I couldn't do my New Year's flash sale on time because my computer was out of commission and I had everything moved out of here. We'll see how things go. Angelo says, thanks. I need to be ready in March or April and attempt the arch. Oh, you got it, man. You've got to. If you have any questions or advice needed, check this video, check the channel, check the videos that I have on there. I have so many lessons that I've taught during a long live stream where you hear me joke with my audience, enjoy talking about their life, as well as telling you things like my computer got wet. And I'm going to be creating very tight lessons that teach these things in very quick hit videos that you can come back for, Angelo, and learn tons of stuff. Joe says, take the drivers out and they use the hard drive caddy to get the data off of them. The drives are probably fine. Yeah, I'm thinking too, because even if the interface has any rust or issues, nothing was running on the inside that was trying to write or read, and it wasn't necessarily damaged on the inside whatsoever. So I'm optimistic, but he's probably right. I could get it out of the caddy and get the data on them. I'm thinking, Joe, that I just go ahead now that I've given it some time to dry, plug them in and see how it goes. But you're right. I mean, who knows? I could spark the damage that hurts the drive, so maybe it's best that I just get the stuff off the drive and call it good. Ay, ay, ay. John Crook says, hope for a few clear nights and mornings. Oh, yes. He's going to Yellowstone in late Feb. That's why. Yeah. Awesome, John. Nice. Ray says, how likely are fires in June for Oregon? Actually, the best time. Okay, let's just say it this way. June, hardly fires anywhere. It's only the last year that it got so early of a wildfire season that we started seeing fires there. I don't check the smoke map until July. But we had some in June and May even, but nothing really worrying or menacing typically. Now, one thing I love about going to the Oregon coast in August is because while there's wildfires in Utah, the sky is fine on the coast. Very rarely have I had fires get blown off into the ocean and cause issues there. But when that happens, that's not the source of the fire. The fire is just being, spread. The smoke is being spread over the ocean. So that kind of smoke ends up being thinner unless it's an extreme crazy fire. So that smoke ends up being thin enough to shoot through. And even when we have a little bit of smoke, we're fine on the coast. It's terrific. And typically, it's all being blown back inland, and it's not a huge problem. I should look for some of my smoke map pictures I've taken in the past and verify that information with you. But it has been the, anecdotal evidence history for me with Oregon coast, which is why I love going to the coast in August, because it's an option to go somewhere cool, not so hot, as well as away from the smoke. So that's an awesome place to go. Any questions came in? Oh, Justin Miller, his information, right? Oh, it's too much. It moved up too high. He says that sky is 2 rows with their 8 shots each. It was 8 and then 8 for both rows of the sky, and he captured them at ISO 800, f2 with 90 seconds. That's why the color's so brilliant. He got it up to a minute and a half. That's awesome. Back up, Tim says. Yeah, all the stuff on those drives is on Dropbox. There's just some Premiere files and videos that I have duplicates of from YouTube, and I also have the original creation of the videos that I just nostalgically want, but there are some things that I'm not entirely certain. I've in fact had a goal to get those hard drives and then pump all their data into another section so I have redundancies on them, and I haven't done it, but paying my price maybe now that a unexpected hole happened to be in the ceiling. It was crazy. So boom. Any other questions that I haven't answered before we go for the night? Thank you, everyone. There were 30 of us at one point. What was the max? Let's see. The max is saying right here. It doesn't tell me the max until afterwards. But we had a fantastic group for not even announcing this. I had the technical issues of getting this computer back put together before I went live, letting it rest and dry. I thought I wasn't going to make it. I'm so glad I could do it. Welcome back to Photog Adventures Milky Way Wednesdays. I'm stoked to have you guys back. I'm Aaron King. If you guys want to be back next Wednesday, I'll be right here. We'll be talking about the anatomy of the winter Milky Way, all the cool deep sky objects, all the cool stars, all the cool features that you should look for to include in your Milky Way, winter Milky Way panorama, and we'll hit on those notes and learn those together next week. Our submission for January, I haven't got a date for it, but that folder will be the same folder for now. No, I'll make a new one. I'll put a link out for our January submissions in next week's Milky Way Wednesday. So you can have that be there and know where to submit your January winter Milky Ways, and hopefully we'll have some good skies, and get out there. Amaki says, thanks, Aaron. Richard Gold says, like button, people. Hit the like button. Hey, thanks, Richard. Blake says, glad you made it happen. Good night, everyone. Kathy says, see you next week. Kathy and Joe, go enjoy that episode of... I forgot the name already. Diminishables? No. I forgot the cool show that you guys are going to watch. But Angelo, welcome in. Happy New Year to you. Dave and SS Mold, thank you. So stoked to have you guys all here. Thanks for joining me for Milky Way Wednesday. We'll be back next Wednesday, 7 p.m. Mountain Time, and enjoy the rest of your New Year's resolutions. Don't let them fly out the window like I have. I'll see ya. Have a good one. Take it easy, and we'll be back next Wednesday. Oh, I hit the wrong button. But there's me again. Hi. I got to get that box. That's part of my resolution. I got to get that box. I go bink, boom, boom. It's so much easier than grabbing a mouse and the tiny little row of words and choose the right one, and then I'm gone.